its thing. I do have the first thing we were talking about is doing rest, the Sabbath rest. So we do have some magazines if you're willing and wanting to read about the Sabbath.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll look at this.
Okay. Yep. Would you like one? Yeah.
Oh, that's my favorite.
Yes.
I hear your voice.
What do you mean, hear my voice?
It's playing.
Oh.
See, we've got one to keep.
There you go.
There you go.
I'm working on Swan.
I usually exchange.
You're welcome.
But now,
Swans, man.
almost a year ago, you're welcome. I can use a company, my business partner, give me a gift card for massage. Yeah, I haven't used them.
We got around 150 just in down front
Oh.
for the meetings.
I've small.
No.
My friends. So,
Delayed though.
What's that? I'm sorry. Oh, it's a live feed?
Yeah, but it's delayed. I don't know how
We're
far.
hearing all our conversation.
and I'm so excited about
Oh,
it.
I really haven't had any bad ones. Those are the two in town.
It was so nice.
She's gonna be working with Claudia. You've met Claudia.
It was so nice.
Yes, I've been over her house a couple of times.
She
Oh, my
reminds me of
friend,
you.
Donna.
Very sweet. Very
Friends
sweet.
out there for a very long time, a couple of years ago.
And,
Jim, did you restart your feed?
Mm.
You're on the same
Like,
feed?
you must be so tired.
Yeah, there we go. Just some of these things we've got to shut off and then.
She just did a research and that's what she gave me. It was a beautiful experience.
Closes out.
Yeah. So, yeah.
There's,
Down.
what's up my phone? Yes. My phone. There it is.
There is a woman. Her name
somebody served as a
is
plant.
What's that?
Somebody who served as a plant.
Rose Mom, Rose Plants.
Oh, she got some roots out there.
So she's a professional massage therapist.
She is
She's a
a
dancer,
flower
but
plant lady.
works as a
She just loves flowers.
located in the hospital.
She's got
So,
some good stuff
yeah,
out there too.
some massages from her before.
Very nice.
That's not from
Oh, that's really common here. I thought that was.
Did you say Will?
Willow.
Hello?
Is that how the boss?
And well, yeah, so those are the ones that they say, hey, yes.
Anyway, the woman wanted me to. Maybe two. And I bailed on it.
Lost.
As an artist.
That's for you.
You can relax. Got full of fear and basically.
If I give you a massage, you don't have
I've never seen a boss.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to let you over.
Yeah.
I told you they don't let me out much.
Did it start?
Almost there, yeah.
This is really.
the commandments have always been for all eternity, you know, and they will always be. As it says in Isaiah, we'll keep the Sabbath from one moon to another, from one new moon to another. So even in the New Jerusalem, Sabbath will still be. It's a beautiful thing. It's a good question. A lot of people say that it's for the Jews. They don't think about Genesis, but that's a good one too, grafted in.
In Acts, when the Jews and the Gentiles, you know, Peter's vision.
You had an injury,
All through
In Acts 10 you're talking about. Yeah.
well, in all
I had surgery, and even after like 3 years, it's still stiff, and like when cold weather comes, it's stiff, it's painful.
and it said about verses of 230,000.
There's only, I forgot how many texts in the New Testament talks about the first day of the week. It's, I think 5 or 6 maybe at the most. I have to go look. But none of them have anything to do with the change of the day. It's just that they met on the first day of the week. It's like, you know. Because remember, when the boy fell out the window, early morning, the first day of the week, when did Sabbath end? Saturday night. They preached late into the night, the boy fell asleep. It wasn't on Sunday, it was Saturday night that the boy fell asleep. And Paul was preaching all day on Sabbath. They think of it as the pagan time at midnight. But remember, the Jews kept.
We've got success.
Sorry.
We need the picture.
No, it's coming, it's coming.
The two most important
Wants to
ones.
turn up the heat, does it get more?
Yeah, the rest in divine prayer.
Yeah, trust in divine power,
I'm just getting used to it.
Not on screen yet. We will switch the inputs.
Oh, yay, we have it.
Another one. Is it HDMI 1 or 2?
Should be 1, I think.
Yeah, that's 1.
Okay, is it unmute? No, okay.
Well
There we go.
Pastor Gad, we just.
The number one health problem I work with today as I work with people is sleep deprivation. We're seeing that more and more. Whether it's they're waking up to go to the bathroom because they have prostate problems, or they just can't fall asleep, or they wake up in the night and they can't fall back asleep, or they wake up, say, 3 o'clock in the morning and that's it. So as we look at the effects of sleep on the body, it has a huge impact on how healthy your family is. You know, we used to think that sleep deprivation was less than 6 hours a day. Then we found with the Breezel-Belloc study that where they looked at 6,900 people over a 15-year period, we found that then we thought, well, maybe less than 7 hours was sleep deprivation. But then they found that actually optimum time, where the person lives the longest, is between 8 and 9 hours of sleep. Harvard University, they're still saying less than 7. They moved it from 6 hours to 7 hours. But if it's less than 7 hours, they say that's sleep deprivation. But we're seeing them flirt more towards that 8 hours now, where they're talking about you really need that 8 hours of sleep to be able to get that good rest for the body. But it's just not how many hours of sleep you have. You also need to look at what's the quality of sleep. Is that person waking up? Are they breaking that REM sleep? Are they getting those 4 stages of sleep? Or are they waking up every hour, every 2 hours, and they start over again and start over again? And that means they still have problems. They still can have sleep deprivation, even though they're getting 8 hours sleep, 7 hours sleep, because it's interrupted and they're not getting good quality sleep. So why do we need sleep? Well, let me read some things to y'all here. This is amazing, the benefits of sleep. It restores, rejuvenates, and energizes the body and the brain. It restores, rejuvenates, and energizes the body and the brain. Now, when you look at what's the first thing you do in the day for your health, what is it? When does the day start? Does it start at midnight? Does it start in the morning? When does the day start? Well, Genesis tells us the day starts when? when the sun sets. So what's the first major event that we do in the day? We sleep. It's kind of like our cell phones. Do we charge the cell phone tonight so that we can use it today? No. We charged it last night so that we can use it today. And many people look at sleep as, well, I'm just plumb tired, I'm plumb sleepy, but I'll get sleep tonight and that'll take care of me. That's looking at it backwards. We need to get sleep last night so that we have the energy to perform today. The sleep tonight will give us the energy to perform tomorrow. So what are the benefits? Let's look at them again. Restores, rejuvenates, and energizes the body and the brain. Alertness. Do you find that if you get a good night's sleep that you're more alert? Absolutely. Just look at kids in the classroom. I go into the school system and I teach nutrition. And I see kids with their heads down on the desk and they're sleeping. I say, when did you go to sleep last night? Oh, midnight, 1 o'clock. Well, of course they're tired. It affects alertness. It affects energy. I mentioned earlier, when people come into me and they say, well, I need more energy. The first thing I ask them, how much water are you drinking? Number 2, what time do you go to bed at night? What's the quality of sleep? And then I ask them what they're eating. Are they exercising? Those are 4 major things that will increase your energy as you're looking out there today to increase that energy. And I know a lot of people come into me and they say, well, I'm just plumb tired. I don't have enough energy. How much are you drinking? What time are you going to bed? What's the quality of the sleep? Are you getting that 8 hours sleep? Are you eating good nutrition? Are you eating that breakfast to get you through the morning? Are you eating that noon meal to get you through the afternoon? A lot of people aren't. When I fly, let's say if I'm flying to Portland, Oregon, and I fly out of Knoxville, I want him filling up with fuel in Knoxville. I want him filling up in Dallas. And then I don't care if he fills up in Portland once we get there. I want him to fill up from Knoxville to Dallas, Dallas to Portland. And many people, they're not filling up in Knoxville. They're not filling up in Dallas. They just fill up when they get to Portland, when they go to bed at night. And they wonder, why didn't they have energy through the day? They didn't fuel up. The other problem is they're not getting the sleep. And sleep is so important to have energy. It affects the mood. You know people with mood problems? I do. Maybe they need more sleep. Body weight. We find that sleep deprivation significantly affects body weight. You're more prone to gain weight or not lose weight if you're sleep deprived. Perception. Your perception is not as good if you don't have good sleep. Memory significantly affects memory. See, at night, in the evening, somewhere around 9 to midnight, we make what's called a memory hormone. And during that process, we take from short-term memory and we put it into long-term memory. If you're not asleep, you're not doing that process before you're taking that short-term memory to long-term memory. So it can affect memory. You're thinking, have you ever been just plumb tired and you just can't think right? You're just not as alert? Absolutely. Reaction time, we know that, and driving. I was working a wreck on the interstate one time, and it was a drunk driver. And the state trooper puts him in jail. And I asked the state trooper, who was a sergeant, I said, Jenkins, I said, what if instead of being drunk, that person has sleep deprivation? He said, could they pass the test? Could the same test they do for sobriety, could they pass it? He said, sleep deprivation can do the same thing. He said, I'm putting them in jail.
That's right.
It is true. If we are sleep deprived, our reaction time driving is less. Our braking time is less. Have you ever been there driving when you're just plumb tired and you're driving home from a trip? Yes, it's very dangerous. So sleep deprivation can affect reaction time, productivity. It's interesting as we look at productivity. Why do we have breaks at work? Because people are more productive if they have a break, a rest. But what about the rest at night? If you don't have adequate sleep, we actually find if a person can have adequate sleep, especially specific hours of night, and we'll talk about that in just a moment, if we have those certain hours before midnight, we can be more productive. Then let's say you stay up late trying to work, and you don't get as much accomplished. But if you get more sleep, you get more accomplished at one time. You actually can net more accomplished. Communication skills. Do you ever find when you're tired, you don't have the best communication skills? Maybe with your spouse or your kids. Your kids ever annoy you or grandkids and you get short with them? It could be because you didn't get enough sleep last night. People are less creative. If you have a job that you need to be creative, you need to get adequate sleep. Safety. It's no question you're safer if you have adequate sleep as you do things throughout the day. And then just overall good health. We talked about the lymphatic system earlier as we talked about exercise. But we've now found that there's a lymphatic system in the brain. It's called the lymphatic system. And the lymphatic system kicks on around 9 o'clock at night to about midnight. And it does a deep cleaning from about 9 to midnight. It does a thorough cleaning from about 10 o'clock to midnight. From 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock, it does a deep cleaning. From 10 o'clock to midnight, it does a thorough cleaning, flushes the brain, just like the lymphatic system does throughout the rest of our body. But the brain, to be able to flush the toilet in the brain, during that between 9 and midnight, you got to be asleep. If you're not asleep, you're not cleaning the brain of all that waste. We've learned for years that the hours before midnight are worth twice the hours after midnight. The hours of sleep before midnight are worth twice the hours of sleep after midnight in what happens in the body. So it's not just getting the 8 hours sleep. It's not just getting the 8 hours of uninterrupted sleep. It's also, when did you go to bed? Try it out. I encourage you. Several years ago, I was at a convention in Michigan, and a buddy of mine that we grew up together, he's a doctor down in Florida, and he came up to me and he goes, he sees me in the convention hall and he says, well, I've got so much energy, you won't believe it. And I said, well, what are you doing? He goes, you just won't believe it. I have so much energy. And I said, well, what are you doing? He goes, you just won't believe it. I have so much energy than what I used to do. And I said, what are you doing? He says, I go to sleep at 9 o'clock at night. And I have found if I go to sleep at 9 o'clock at night, I have significantly more energy the next day. I'm more productive the next day. And people say, well, I put the kids to bed. That's when my husband and I have time. That's when I watch a movie. That's when I get some chores done in the house. Well, whatever time you're going to bed and getting up, just back it back those hours before midnight and do it. Get up those many hours earlier and do those things in there. You will find that your bodies will run significantly better. So sleep aids in, what do we do for helping a person if they're needing to go to sleep? Are there sleep aids? There is. Number one is a consistent bedtime. The body just has a consistent time that you get up and you eat breakfast, dinner, supper. Our bodies run a whole lot better if we have a consistent time that we eat breakfast, eat dinner, eat supper, if you eat supper. The other is if you have a consistent time when you go to bed, the body just does better. Y'all know with your kids. If you put your kids to bed at 7:30 every night, it's like clockwork. If you put them to bed at 7:30 tonight, 11 o'clock tomorrow night, 8 o'clock the next night, 11 o'clock the next night, the kids have a hard time settling down. The same is true to our bodies. We need that consistent time. The other one is use your bed for sleeping and with your spouse. If you're using your bed for watching television, if you're using it as a library to read, the brain gets confused. And more literature is coming out today that says if you're having problems sleeping, only use your bed for what it's meant to. Not as a place to sit and watch TV, not as a place to read or whatever. Use that, go to bed, and use it for the bed what it's supposed to be used for. The other thing is you want a cool room. You don't want a hot room. The body sleeps better. And they've actually come out with this new bed that the bed is cool during the night, and then in the morning it starts warming it up, and that's what wakes you up. So if your room is hot, you just don't sleep as well. And what's a great way to do that? Open your windows if you're in an area, especially in the wintertime. Open those windows, get that fresh air in, get that cool air in, you'll sleep a whole lot better. Another key is have a tidy room. You want that room to be clean, you'll sleep a whole lot better. Another key is have the room just plumb dark. not even a light on a clock. You want to have that room totally dark. You'll actually sleep a whole lot better. There are some aids that can help you sleep, such as valerian, skullcap, hops, passion flower, chamomile, wild lettuce. Those herbs can help to calm you down and help you sleep. There's some other things that you can use, like magnesium. Magnesium is really good to help a person sleep at night. L-theanine, 5-HTP, tryptophan. Those are all supplements that can help you sleep. But the first thing you want to do is those key ones that are real simple. If you want tryptophan, get your tryptophan from the flaxseed. Get the sunshine so you can convert the tryptophan into serotonin, that which will make melatonin at night. If you eat a light supper, you'll make more melatonin. If you go to bed at 9 o'clock, you'll make even more melatonin. Just do it naturally. Have that room clean. Have that room cool. Do those things that can help your body just fall asleep naturally. If you can't and you're still having some problems, try that magnesium to battle tolerance. Try those herbs, valerian, skullcap, hops, passion flower, chamomile, wild lettuce, those herbs that can calm the body down. And so there's a number of things. Copaiba, which is an essential oil. Try those out. But as you look at going to sleep, it's not a cookie cutter. You've got to look at each person individually. Just like if you take Benadryl, it may wake you up. If you take Benadryl, it may make you go to sleep. The same is true on sleep aids. And you just have to try which one that will work. The biggest thing is figure out how to get that good sleep. We'll see you next time.
Thank you very much for coming.
All I
Appreciate
want-
the support. Yeah.
If I didn't have a flare up with this, I would separate through the whole thing.
We got started late too, so.
And I'm so sorry.
See you on that.
We'll see you.
Thank you, guys.
Yes. God bless. Good to see you again. I'll see you tomorrow. Very nice to meet you folks. I didn't actually meet you, but I've seen you before. Very nice.
I'll likely see you next week.
Oh, I'm gonna be greeting people here and
Okay,
helping out. I'm just
great.
body.
Great.
Where we're behind, we'll do the next one.
That's totally the next one.
What's that? Did you have something you want to say, Carol?
Started talking about the sleeping and how much I'm missing the sleeping part.
Yes, I think a lot of us are. Life is just so busy that I think that's one of the things that we say, oh, okay, I can get to bed an hour or two later, but that really makes a difference, I find myself. If I am to bed by 9 o'clock, I can usually sleep through until 4, at least. So it's a huge difference, and I do feel more awake. And we've gone to leaving our windows open at night to get that cool air in there, which makes a huge difference. And not eating that last meal at night or something very light, that makes a huge difference. Yeah. So everything that he was talking about, we slowly started to implement into our lives and found it really very beneficial.
What I started doing, because I get woken up when I hear sounds around me, I started doing some relaxing music.
Yep.
And kind of fills the space, and I can tune it out, but then I don't hear the small sounds around that wake me up.
That's good. I leave a fan on at night, on low, yes, exactly. So it just makes that, I guess they call it white noise.
Yes.
Yeah, so you don't hear the birds chirping outside or that kind of thing, or a car driving by or
Oh, well,
whatnot.
this week I heard at 4 a.m. The garbage pickup people.
Oh no.
It's like they do it at least once a month. And it's underneath my window, and I was having a dream of excavators, and I was like, that excavator is so loud.
Like, let's turn that thing off, it's too early in the morning. That's funny.
It's just like I was dreaming once that I was drowning, and I opened my eyes. Debbie's holding my nose because she said I was snoring.
It's like, wake up!
It's like I couldn't breathe. I really couldn't breathe.
Well, you were breathing out of your mouth.
Well, we know you're not a mouth breather then.
Oh, now everybody knows. Okay, so our next one now is trust in divine power.
When we started the series, we talked about nutrition being probably one of the most important components, or one of the most key components to having good health. As we eat good food, food that is whole food, plant-based with variety. But it's not the only food that we need. There's also more food, and that's in God's Word. As we look at really having good health, bananas don't heal you. Beans don't heal you. Fresh air and exercise, they don't heal you. Only God does the healing. Now, God blesses the food, just as if when we sit down and we eat breakfast, and as we eat dinner, and as we eat supper, we thank God for our food, and we ask God to bless it and give us strong blood and strong bodies and minds and muscles and tendons. See, it won't do it on its own as effective, but when God blesses it, it works a whole lot better. And so as we look at exercise, as we look at fresh air and water and rest, ask God to bless those too, because it is God that does the healing. It's so important. I'd like to share a few things today as we look at trusting in God. There's a huge issue out there. The number one the number one diagnosis in America is stress. Now, according to the World Health Organization, soon that's going to be replaced by depression. Will be the number one diagnosis in America. But right now it's still stress. How do you deal with stress effectively? Yes, getting your sleep and drinking water and exercise, they're all great with lowering stress. But the most important thing is trusting God. Can I share a few things with y'all? Let's go to Matthew. Matthew 11, verse 28 through 30. Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you, and learn of me, for I am meek and lowly in heart, and ye shall find rest unto your souls. For my yoke is easy, and my burden is light. You know, that's huge. You know, if it's kind of like, remember as a kid, and you can go to dad and there's safety, or you can go to mom and there's safety. Well, there's safety in going to God. And he wants to take care of us. A mama chicken puts her chickens under her wings. Come unto me, all ye that are labor and are heavy laden. Are you heavy laden? A lot of folks are heavy laden right now. And I will give you rest. That's a huge promise. Another one is in Psalms. Let's look at Psalms. Psalms 18, verse 2 and 3. The Lord is my rock and my fortress, and my deliverer, my God, my strength, in whom I will trust, my buckler, and the horn of my salvation, and my high tower. I will call upon the Lord, who is worthy to be praised. So shall I be saved from my enemies. You know, as we look out there today, times are getting tough. Whether it's the economy, whether it's diseases, whatever it is, I tell you, safety is in God. It's huge. You know, in Texas, they have a saying, as the cowboy goes out there and he gets on a really tough bull or a really tough horse, they say, wrap that rope around your hand one more time so you got a good hold on it. And I encourage you that God is that rope. Christ is that rope that you can grab a hold of. And that's where your security is. The Lord is my rock and my fortress and my deliverer, my God, my strength, in whom I will trust. The next one comes from Psalms also, Psalms 37. David continues talking with us here. Psalms 37. And let's look at 3 through 6. Psalms 37, verse 3 through 6. Trust in the Lord and do good. So shalt thou dwell in the land, and verily thou shalt be fed. The Bible is very conditional. If-then statements. If you do this, this will happen. If you do this, this will happen. And so what's the condition here to have that we will be fed? Trust in the Lord and do good. So shalt thou dwell in the land, and verily thou shalt be fed. Delight thyself also in the Lord, and he shall give thee the desires of thy heart. Do you have desires of your heart? Do you want to have a better relationship with your children? Do you want to have a better relationship with your spouse? Do you want to have a better relationship with your boss? Whatever it may be. Delight thyself also in the Lord, and he shall give thee the desires of thy heart. Do you believe it? You got to ask him. Commit thy way unto the Lord. Trust also in him, and he shall bring it to pass. That's huge, y'all. And he shall bring forth thy righteousness as a light, and thy judgment as the noonday. Let's go to Proverbs. Proverbs 3, verses 5 through 8. Trust in the Lord with all thy heart, and lean not unto thy own understanding. How often do we do that? How often do we do things based on our understanding or what we've been told? What the media has told us, what a teacher has told us, what a boss has told us, whoever. Trust in the Lord with all thy heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. Be not wise in thy own eyes. And again, one time I knew this fella. He was a teacher, and he said, Walt, he said he was a Baptist friend of mine. He said, Walt, he'd gone up and got his PhD, and he says, sometimes we get overeducated. He says, when I was younger and not educated, I trusted God more. He says, now I have to figure everything out. There has to be a reason. Be not wise in thine own eyes. Fear the Lord and depart from evil. It shall be health to thy navel and marrow to thy bones. Let's continue in Proverbs 17. And we're going to look at 22. Proverbs 17, 22. And I like this. It's a neat song to sing. A merry heart doeth good like a medicine, but a broken spirit drieth the bones. A number of years ago, I was speaking up in New York, and we were addressing this issue here, and this lady stood up and she raised her hand. She says, can I say something? I said, sure. She said, my specialty as a medical doctor in New York City is bone marrow. She said, if a person is happy, the bone marrow produces a chemical that helps to boost the immune system. She said, but if you're not happy, the bone marrow does not produce that chemical to boost your immune system. A merry heart doeth good like a medicine, but a broken spirit drieth the bones. I think I like that medicine. Let's continue on. We're going to go to Isaiah 26, verses 4 and 5. Trust ye in the Lord forever. Trust ye in the Lord for how long?
Forever.
Until it's convenient? No. Forever. For in the Lord Jehovah is everlasting strength. You know, as we started this series, we talked about, are you looking for energy? Are you looking for more strength? Here's your strength, y'all. Yes, we need to eat. We got to drink water. We got to get our sleep. We've got to exercise. Why? So we'll have healthy blood, so we'll have healthy brains, so we can discern God better, so that we can have that strength to trust Him. But here's the key, y'all. Trust ye in the Lord forever, for in the Lord Jehovah is everlasting strength. For He bringeth down them that dwell on high in lofty city. He layeth it low. He layeth it low even to the ground. He bringeth it even to the dust. Where do you want to be, y'all? Do you want to be the one that He gives you everlasting strength? Let me look at another one here. Let's go to Exodus. Exodus 23, 25. And ye shall serve the Lord your God, and He shall bless thy bread and thy water. And I will take sickness away from the midst of thee. So who takes away sickness? God does. And so as you apply these simple laws of health, these simple keys that we've talked about in this series, nutrition, exercise, water, fresh air, sunshine, having temperance, making the right decisions, having adequate sleep. That's all important. And it all comes together as you do this. I will take sickness away from the midst of thee. It is God that has this power. Let me read one more, if I can. Bear with me one more. Turn with me to Exodus 15:26, the last one we'll look at. Exodus 15:26. And he said, if thou wilt diligently hearken to the voice of the Lord thy God, that's number 1. 2, wilt do that which is right unto his sight, number 2, and will give ear to his commandments, 3, and will keep all his statutes, 4. And I believe health, being healthy and following health laws is part of statutes. I will put none of these diseases upon thee, which I have brought upon the Egyptians, for I am the Lord that healeth thee. And it's so important for us to keep in mind where the true source of healing is. Yes, we have to do our part. We've got to eat our bananas and our apples and our oranges and our grapes and our beans and our rice and our nuts and our seeds. We've got to have our exercise and water and sleep. But God blesses those, and that's what gives us the health. One last thing. Many people come to me and they have stress. And they try to figure out, what can I do for the stress? And I have them write down everything that stresses them on a piece of paper. Write every stressor you have that bothers you. I have a lady that her son is, he's in prison. And she may never be able to see him again, or maybe never hug him again. And I had her do this. It's just terribly distressful for her. And so I said, write down everything that stresses you, and then take another piece of paper and draw a T. On the top of the left side, put controllables. On the other side, put non-controllables. And on the things which you can't control, there's never a thing you can do. You can't fret over it, cry over it, or whatever, and fix it. Write those down on the non-controllable side. And those which you can do something about, write them down on the controllable side. And then I want you to take that piece of paper and I want you to rip that paper in half. The part that says non-controllable, sit down with God and talk with Him and ask Him to take those problems, such as that lady who may never see her son again because he's in prison. She may never hug him again because he's in prison and she doesn't have that access. It may be a spouse that you lost, or a child that you lost, or whatever it may be. You can't fix it. Fretting isn't going to fix it. But take it to God and ask God to take care of that for you. And then take the other list that says controllable and work with God and address those. Yes, your spouse passed away. Your children may have passed away. This child is in prison. But let God have the worrying part of that. And now the devil's going to come back to you. And he's going to dangle that piece of paper in front of you. And say to him, that's not mine. That's God's. Now go and get out of here. In Jesus' name, Satan, get thee behind me. Go talk to God about that problem. That's not mine anymore. And yes, if it's my son who's still in prison, you can pray for him. But give that worrying to God. It's amazing how much that can help with stress. So as we look at this series, how can you have a healthier family? How can you help to have more energy, to lose weight, to prevent maybe diabetes or heart disease? I encourage you to look at these 8 laws that we've looked at. Nutrition, exercise, water, sunshine, making the right decisions, temperance, fresh air, get adequate rest, but most important, trusting God. Thank you for joining us.
Well, there was a lot of information here this evening, and I believe these last 2 lectures were the most important, because without God we can do nothing. And the Sabbath gives us that day of rest, that gives us more time with God and with fellow believers, and it allows our body to recoup from all the work that we've done all week long. And so here we are, it's Friday night, sun's gone down, we are actually in the Sabbath. So this is a wonderful time to take and invite you folks to come to church with us tomorrow if you'd like. Services start at 9:30 for Sabbath School, and then I think it's 11 for the service itself. So, and we do have potluck, so you're welcome. All the delicious food that you folks were able to partake of this last month. We have more folks in the church that love to cook too, so you don't have to bring anything if you don't want to. Just you're welcome to come and join us and for lunch. And if you can't make it and can just make lunch and you want to meet the other folks in the church, please feel free to come.
Amen.
We'd love to have you. Yeah.
Amen.
And the last thing that I'd like to hand out to you folks, if you would like, is we are having a final events after Walt Cross comes. We are having a pastor named Pastor Chuck Gadway come, and he's going to be here from the 11th to the 21st. Is that 28th? So these are some flyers.
Service?
I'm sorry, what?
How many services every night?
Every night.
Yeah,
Oh.
from what's the time, Carl?
Oh, that's awesome.
7 to 8?
If you come the first one, well, you're gonna get in trouble, because you're not gonna wanna miss the next one.
Right.
He's really good.
Oh, that's awesome.
So we have some gifts for you folks if you would like them. You don't have to take them if you don't want them, but I'm offering.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And these are the Great Controversy books. If you love history and you are interested in religion and how things have progressed over the years, that is a wonderful book, and it ties right into the Bible. You're welcome. You have this one? Or?
Yes, I think it's too small.
Oh, the print is too small. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's got a QR code in it. So if you have a smartphone, you can hit it with a QR code and you can listen to it.
She does.
Or you don't watch it too, I think. Can't you?
What's that?
I think you watch it too.
You can watch it too?
Do you
I
want
think,
me
I
to
could
get
be
you a
wrong.
larger
I haven't done it yet,
for
but I've
you?
heard that people were listening
I
to
think
it.
you listen to it.
Yeah.
You can watch it.
Definitely, like I.
Or if it has other resources on it.
Okay.
We are
Wow, I'm gonna try that and see.
Okay, then I'll give it to Barney.
Big one. Yeah.
Or if I see you at the meeting, we won't pass.
Yes, you will. You will, Lord willing.
Okay, amen.
Yes.
But I got my tickets, and then the next day I realized that this event is happening.
So, I just wanted to thank everyone for coming, and it's been a real joy for us to be here with all of you and to meet everyone, and yeah, it's just been wonderful.
It's been very good, and I thank
Yeah,
you.
you're welcome.
Yes, I think
You're
it's
welcome.
your time
Thank you,
doing
Debbie. That
this.
was
You're
a
welcome.
really good thing that you did.
Good, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I was happy to be here. Thank you for opening up your.
And if you thought this was good, next Friday's gonna be a blow up.
That's right.
Having them in person, that'd be really great.
Yeah,
Yep.
I'll be here.
Definitely.
Hey Carol, can I put this on Facebook?
You certainly can, I wish you would.